In today's video, we're going to be going over exactly how we built Viral Distributors, which is our distribution company that lands 30 to 50 new brands every single month, and how you can implement the same systems and organization that we have in that company into your Amazon business to get similar results and similar approval rates, right? So what's very important here is when we first started selling, we didn't have Viral Distributors. We didn't need a distribution company because we were doing online arbitrage and going through wholesalers and distributors. But in 2023 is when we really started focusing our efforts on buying directly from brands and building real relationships with brands. And that's when we started Viral Distributors. When we first started our distribution company in 2023, just like anything else that's new, is we had a lot of learning to do, right? There was a lot of mistakes that we made, a lot of time that we wasted, and a lot of money that we lost because of us being so new to this way of sourcing products. So before we even started Viral Distributors, we were reaching out to brands just with really no strategy, pretty willy-nilly, and we had very little success. Our response rate from brands back in 2023 was very, very low. And that's when we kind of had this aha moment of, hey, let's become a distribution company to try and bring more value to these brands. And in April 2023, Viral Distributors was born. When we first started Viral Distributors, there was me, Kate, and Griffin. There was 3 of us, and then we had a couple of employees that worked for us, and it was a very, very small kind of shop, right? There wasn't a ton of activity. We had to build it up, right? So when we first started doing this, it was just all of us doing everything. We were researching, we were reaching out to brands, we were communicating with brands, we were placing orders. All of it was just pretty unorganized, and there wasn't much of a system to it. And over the years, we developed into having different sectors of our company, right? So there was different management and there was different divisions of the company. And that's how we really focused our efforts on certain tasks, like hunting brands, doing outreach to brands, placing orders with brands. We kind of divided it all up into 3 separate divisions. The first division that I'll go over is our research team. And what I want to go over is the main problems that we had in our distribution company and how we solved them. So when we first started in 2023, we had absolutely no strategy. We were just shooting from the hip and essentially reaching out to any brand out there that we saw was selling on Amazon and had products to sell, right? And we got some approvals, but our response rate was super, super low. Our approval rate was super, super low, and we just didn't have much success. So we slowly developed our research process, right? The softwares that we were using, we went from Smart Scout into Keepa, what brands we're targeting, which I'll go into in more detail in just a minute, and I have gone into further detail in other videos. But one thing that we did is we would reach out to any brand. The first narrowing down of our research team is we stopped reaching out to brands that were the independent seller of their product, right? So no more independent sellers, right? Also, another thing that we did is no brands where Amazon was the dominant seller or the only seller of the products either. So this was the first kind of narrowing in that we had when doing research, was no independent sellers and no reaching out to brands where Amazon was the dominant seller. The main thing that we really, and there was a lot of different tweaks that we made, but the main difference where we had the biggest change in our response rate from brands was actually reaching out to brands that take on recent sellers. We only reach out to brands that were taking on recent sellers. So targeting brands taking on sellers. So the way that you do that is by using Keepa and actually using different tools and filters, such as, you go into Keepa, put on data, offers, new FBA, and you can see where the new sellers are. So this was the biggest change in our research, was targeting brands taking on new sellers. Our response rate went from like 10 to 20%. We made this move in 2024, and then it went from 10 to 20% to 40 to 50% because we were reaching out to brands that we could tell were open to business. And I have other videos where we go over exactly how to identify these brands. We actually just released one last week if you guys want to check that out. So that was the evolution of our research team. It was very, very one-sided. There was one person doing it. Now we have 4 people in our research team. Their goal is to research and hunt about 80 brands per day. That then gets filtered by the manager of research. And then once the manager of research looks through them, make sure that they're perfect, then we forward them to the communications team. So that's what we'll talk about next, is comms. We call it our comms team. Our comms team back in 2023 was all 3 of us, right? We were just doing as much work as we possibly could do. but there was no organization. So the main problems that we were running into is spam emails. That was a very, very big problem. Another problem that we were running into is just unorganization of follow-ups. Unorganized follow-ups. So what I mean by that is we had just a ton of brands out there, but we didn't really know how to target specific brands that were actually the highest approval rate, right? Like the brands that really we could see are like, okay, these guys are open to do business. We have to follow up with them over and over and over every single week until we get the approval. So spam emails, let's address that first. If you're running into spam emails where you feel like you're just getting a very low response rate, we had this problem. The way that you avoid that is by warming your emails up. So if you open up a fresh domain under your business, do not send 50 emails from that new email in the first week, right? You have to send 5 emails a day for a week. Then you send 10 emails a day for the next week. Then you send 20, then you send 50. So per domain, you wanna max it out to around 20 emails per day, right? That's how you wanna max that out, which is really all you need to do. If you're an individual Amazon seller, if you don't have a team, if you're sending 20 emails a day to new brands and then just following up with the responses, you are doing very, very well. You will see approvals very soon if you're doing that amount of outreach. So that's really good. If you have a goal of you're sending 50 emails a day, then you need to have separate domains, right? So you need your info at Viral Distributors. Then you need your info at Viral Vamp Distributors, info at VV Distributors. So you can build different domains very closely related to the name of your company, and that's how you can send out more emails. And that's exactly what we did to start avoiding having this problem of our emails going to spam. We warmed up our emails and then we capped out how many emails we could send per day from one domain. So that's how you avoid that problem. The next problem was unorganized follow-ups. The way that we fix this issue is we started a star system, right? So the star system. And we talk about this in other videos as well. This is extremely important in order to get the most focus on the best brands that you like the most. You need a system for organizing them. A 1-star brand might have one winning product with 5 sellers on it, and the recent seller was taken on 12 months ago, right? So there's just not much opportunity there. You could get approval, but it's not something that you really want to focus all of your efforts on. A 5-star brand is a brand that has 20 winning products, all with hundreds, if not thousands of units in sales per month per product. And they have taken on maybe 5 new sellers on different listings within the last 6 months. That shows us this brand is taking on new sellers. They have a bunch of winning products. They are open to business if we can reach them at the right time and follow up correctly and promptly and make sure that we're getting their attention on us, right? So that is communications back in 2023. We were just doing it sporadically, really no system in place. Emails were landing in spam. We had no organization of who we were following up with the most. And in 2026, we now have 5 people in our communications team, and we send about 1,000 emails to different brands every single month. And we're following up on those emails. We're following up on brands from the previous months. We have it down to a system. Our guys know that they have to reach out to about 10 new brands per day, and there's 5 of them. So that's 50 new brands a day. And then we're following up with them. Some weeks we'll send new brands, new emails 5 days in the week. Sometimes we'll only do it 2 days of the week, and we'll just do a bunch of follow-ups. So you have to determine and kind of get a flow for when you're sending new emails to new brands and when you're following up with these brands and calling these brands and different things along those lines. So that's how the communications team was built. And then we have procurement. So procurement, what we call procurement is like order placing. So after you get the approval, once you get the approval, communications team will pass it off to procurement. All right. So this pass off process looks like, hey, we got the approval. Here's the pricing sheet. Procurement sheet scans it and then places the order with the brand. And then procurement is managing the relationship with the brand. The main problems that we ran into with procurement was slow ordering. This was a huge problem for us. Missing opportunity, I guess is a good way to put it. So we were missing opportunity. And what I mean by that is we had brands that we had approval from that weren't profitable, but we didn't, ask for discounts or ask for free shipping or follow up with them 2 months down the road and then ask them again. We were just kind of leaving a lot of opportunity out there just because we were ignorant and didn't know how to best manage the relationships with these brands. So the 2 solutions to these problems, obviously with our procurement team, is we really built a good team around a good manager in procurement. Procurement is one of the most important portions of your business. And that manager makes sure that when we get a pricing sheet within the same day, if we get it at 4 p.m., by 5 p.m. when we leave that office, that order has been placed with that brand. If it's at 4:49, we cannot leave until that order is placed with that brand. It has to be same day. So same day ordering is massive to making sure that you don't lose any of these brands' approvals. Missing opportunity. We have a list of approved brands. and we have the list of approved, no order placed, right? Those brands in approved but no order placed in our CRM, they get sheet scanned once per quarter. And we sheet scan it, and then we reach out to the brand and say, hey, we had the approval. We noticed back in 2024 Q2, we got your approval. We haven't been able to buy anything from you guys just based on your pricing. Can we get a new pricing sheet from you guys? We'd love the opportunity to work with you. And every quarter when we do this, we get 2 or 3 new brands that we had approval from the past that we're able to place orders with and grow our business with. Okay, so you have to make sure if you get an approval and it's not profitable right away, don't just ditch the brand. Put it in a certain place, say approval but order not placed, and make sure that you follow up on those brands quarterly. Another thing is, if the brand isn't profitable from the start, you have to negotiate with these brands. These brands are very open to negotiation. So they give you the price, hey, we're at $19.99 for this order with our wholesale pricing. You do your analysis and it has to be at $12 or $15, let's say, right? So they're at 20 and you're at 15. Some people will be like, oh, the brand will never do that. Our team is absolutely insane when it comes to negotiations. If we see it at 20 and we need it at 15, we're gonna say, hey, we need these at 10. Is there anything that you can do for us there? Brand says, no, hey, no way we can give you a 50% discount, but we can meet you at 16. Okay, gotcha, man. That's super, great. Thank you so much. But I would have to be at least $14 in order for this to make sense. Then they come back to you and say, hey, we can meet you in the middle at 15. Or if they're at 16, say, hey, 16 is as cheap as we can go. Okay, no worries. Is there any way we could get free shipping on that order? If you take out the shipping cost, sometimes that makes that product profitable as well. So this is how you have to negotiate with brands in order to turn these unprofitable approvals into profitable and proceedable approvals. This is very, very important in order to maximize the potential of your business. So all of this, we have a 30-person distribution company. In our distribution company, we land 30 to 50 new brands every single month. We're reaching out to 1,000 brands a month. We have a 4 to 7% approval rate per month, just depending on what month it is. And this is gonna be way larger than most people could really imagine as far as the outreach they're doing in their company. So now the question is, how do I do this in my business, right? So how to replication process. So research comes procurement. So notice how I said that we have certain teams that do certain things and we want to focus our efforts on that. So that's exactly what I would do in your business. So one day of the week, Monday, you do research, right? Then Monday, you build a list of 30 brands, right? So you want to nurture those 30 brands, or maybe let's say 50. I think 50 is a better number. So on Monday, you research 30 to 50 brands on Monday that you like, that you see a good opportunity with. You give them a star rating. I don't think I went over that on the last slide, but you have to give them a star rating, 1 to 5 stars with the brand, and organize them from best brands to the worst brands. They should all be, semi-good, semi-approvable brands. And then we have communications. So communications, maybe you do Tuesday through Thursday. So Tuesday through Thursday, we got 30 to 50 brands. We're saying outreach to 15 brands a day. And then you're following up with 10 brands a day as well, or 10 to 15 brands a day as well. So the reason why you want to do one thing at a time is because if you're researching 5 brands, then you do the outreach to those 5 brands, then you're doing the follow-up with the 5 brands from the day before, and then you got an approval from another brand, everything becomes extremely hard to keep up with. So if you organize your system and make sure that you're doing one thing a day and you're focused on one task, you're gonna have a much better output of results that you're receiving, right? The brands that you receive or the brands that you research on Monday are gonna be all very good brands because you focus your efforts all on research rather than sporadically doing it throughout the week. Okay, this is very, very important in order to get the best results. Procurement, obviously, all day, every day. This is gonna be insanely important, guys. Whenever you get an approval from a brand, do not waste time. You have to make sure that you're placing the order within a very timely manner in order to make sure that you build that relationship well. So whenever you get an approval, you need to be placing orders same day with that brand. Sheet scan, figure out what's profitable. If you have to negotiate, tell them what your ask price is and send them an email back same day. This is super, super important. So this is how you guys need to be building out your outreach system into your company. If you wanted our help, I can place one of my employees into your business and they take care of all of this. And then whenever we get approvals for you, we pass you the pricing sheet and then you take care of procurement. So you place the order with the brand, you will manage relationship with the brand, you can ship the products to us or do a warehouse of your own. And we take care of the research and outreach and communications process. Once we get the approval, we pass it to you. You take care of procurement, and this is the easy part. This is the harder part. Once you get the approval, then it's just about putting in the work and make sure that you're communicating with the brand effectively, which, is not that hard to do. You just have to do it. And we can help you with that process as well with sheet scanning and things along those lines. So one thing that I want to go over is, why do we do this? Why do we help other sellers? If we have a distribution company where we're learning 30 to 50 new brands every single month, why would I help anybody else? The reason why is because in our distribution company, we have unlimited opportunity in our business, right? We have unlimited products to sell. Our limitation is capital for purchasing those products. So a way for us to, generate another stream of revenue is by providing a service where we help other sellers implement the same system that we built over the last 3.5, 4 years now into their business so they can start working with brands directly as well. If you guys would like to see how our system works and how we can help you land brands, we have a link to book a call with one of our sourcing experts below. There's also a link to our school community if you want to join that, where we're adding value every single day. Really appreciate you guys tuning into the video. Definitely book a call if you want to see how this works in action.